here's my review of The Killer. I liked this movie, although I felt like I just didn't think it was anything special. Like, I thought it was good. I thought it was a solid film. But, like, I mean, comparison to some of David Fincher's other work, it's, like, okay. I mean, both, like, Fight Club, um, Seven, both better. Granted, those are the only ones I've seen from David Fincher, but I'd say this is my least favorite of those three. But I liked this movie. I thought it was good. But I think, though, my main problem with it, though, I mean, it is kind of the part of the movie where, like, the main part, where just our main character, he's only referred to as the killer. He doesn't have a name. I mean, he doesn't really have that much personality. So, I'm sure that's definitely intentional. I mean, it's a cold, heartless killer at the end of the day. But, I mean, there's just not really much to latch onto, because even, like, you don't really know, like, anything about this character. So, and he doesn't really talk like that much. He's mostly silent, I feel like, for the majority of this movie. Like, he talks sometimes, but, like, and there's some narration. Okay, so there's a lot of narration, but I still feel like in all that narration, you don't really get to learn much about him. You just know that he's cold and calculating, and that's kind of it. And also, I didn't know this is actually based on a French comic book series, so that was really cool to see. And so, like, the basic premise, though, is he's hired to kill this person in France at the beginning of the movie, but then he misses, and then he's kind of being hunted, and he has to, like, he's basically trying to escape from them, along with, like, his employers. But there's not really just much to latch onto with this film. I think that there is, I think it's very well shot. I think it's never really visually boring, but it's never super visually interesting. Like, I think some of the lighting is very good, and sometimes, like, it's kind of sometimes shot in a way to kind of almost put you in the perspective of this character. So almost we kind of know what he's feeling, but we also don't really know anything about him. Like, we maybe know what he's like, if he's like feeling nervous or like scared, or if he's like feeling angry, but you don't really get to know him personally, like, at all. And there is some pretty cool action in this scene, like in this movie, like where he's in Florida and like he's like fighting this huge guy, he's like way bigger than him. And like some of the creative ways that, like, in that whole fight scene was really cool. I mean, it's like very dark. That was one of the problems. Like, some of the lighting is just so bad, though. Where for the most part it's really good, but then this scene when he's fighting this guy, it's so dark you can't really make out what's even happening. And I mean, it kind of took me out of it. Like, it was very intense. Like, there were many parts where you thought that he was about to die, but I mean, it's so dark you can't really see it. So I mean, I thought that was just kind of annoying. Like, I was watching the scene, like, what's happening? And I will say, because Michael Fassbender is such a fantastic actor, even though doesn't really talk that much, he still comes across as very charming. Like, when he's like using the fake ID, or almost any part where sometimes he is talking to other people, it comes off as so charming, even though, I mean, this is just a cold-hearted killer. But I mean, Michael is just a fantastic actor, so he's able to pull it off very well. And Tilda Swinton is in this movie as well. And, I mean, she is great as well. I mean, but I didn't really feel like she had that much to do in this movie. So it's like, the acting was good, and it was visually interesting, and I thought that this movie was good, but I think it just kind of lacked a lot of depth, which I understand it's probably not what he was going for, and I understand, I'm sure that this is the movie that David Fincher wanted to make, but I think because our characters are intentionally don't have that much personality, there's just not much to it. I mean, visually it's interesting. I think the action is great, and I think that this is a good movie. But I think there's just not that much depth, and at some points I feel like not generic in terms of the action. Like, I think some of the action sequences are very good and sometimes unique, but just in terms of plot, it doesn't really feel like anything super special. So yeah, I think that this movie is good, but I don't think that it's anything great.